Welcome, fellow humans. Today I'm going to talk about how sunlight makes me ill. It also makes it a lot harder for me to see things. I can see things much better in most artificial lighting than I can in most natural daylight, which is actually a really big problem because it makes it very difficult for me to navigate by vision or use my phone when I'm outdoors. And sometimes I need to travel outdoors and it would be useful to be able to see better. But fortunately, maybe that's not quite the right word, but sort of fortunately, since I spent 15 years being legally blind anyway, and now I'm just visually impaired, slightly more sighted than I was before, I'm kind of used to making do outside without vision anyhow, so I know how to compensate for that to an extent. The problem I have with sunlight seems to be that it's really, really bad for my tendency towards migraines. I know that it causes migraines, and there might be another factor, but I think it's mainly just the whole migraine thing, even though it doesn't always cause head pain. Because when I am exposed to sunlight, I have a very high risk of becoming more fatigued, becoming nauseous, and developing migraine head pain. When I get a full-blown migraine, it's pretty clear that that's what's happening. I've got a migraine. And part of what helped me put it together is that I also get sick from artificial light that is designed to mimic sunlight. For a time, I tried using a sad therapy lamp because I was thinking, I stay indoors so much and sunlight is supposed to be good for people. Maybe this would help my health. Maybe if I do this a bit each day, I'll get some of the sunlight equivalent. And I tried to use it, and I got so sick to my stomach really fast, too. It was actually more of a reaction than I get from normal sunlight, and I was trying to follow the directions to use the lamp correctly. I tried it a couple more times just to see if that was an anomaly, but it was consistent, so I stopped doing that because it was pretty clear that I could not tolerate it. The worst migraine I've ever gotten was not from sunlight, but probably the second worst was from sunlight, and the one that involved the most nausea. I won't go into details on that, but it was deeply unpleasant. And I got that from having an absolutely lovely scenic trip where I was trying to take photos of the scenery, but it was winter and there was reflection off the snow of the sunlight. And so I was getting way too much sun exposure, and it triggered a massive migraine. And putting those things together was what really helped me to understand that I need to be really careful about sunlight. So I talked to my retinologist about it because I figured he might have some insights, and he did. He said, that's weird because most people deal much better with sunlight and have problems with artificial light, and I was backwards. And that was interesting. Not exactly helpful. I mean, I just do the kind of obvious things. I avoid sunlight for the most part. I wear sunglasses when I have to go out most of the time. Sometimes I wear hats, that sort of thing. You can probably tell that I don't look like a person who gets a lot of sun exposure. And I don't. I really, really don't. It is unfortunate because sunlight also has a lot of health benefits, as does generally being outside in nature. And I would benefit from those health benefits as far as I can tell. And I think I do when I actually go outside and walk around in forests or, parks and things. But I also get the health drawbacks. And so it's overall better for me to generally avoid the outdoors, which is probably part of why I have so many health problems, because humans are kind of like plants. We thrive in sunlight and water, and since I can't do that, it's going to have health problems for me. But I've tested just going outside for a little bit in the morning to try to help with my, daily rhythm, to help with my sleep. And when I did that, I became really fatigued for the entire day. And that just didn't work. So it's too high a risk that I'll just lose the day instead of helping my body adjust to a good sleep rhythm. So I have to just avoid sunlight. I do know that it's not that uncommon for people with migraines to have issues with bright lights, but it doesn't seem to generally be the brightness that is the problem, because bright synthetic lights that aren't mimicking sunlight don't seem to cause me problems. And I'm not sure if I know anyone who has a problem quite like mine. I haven't heard of anyone else who has an issue specifically with sunlight. I actually have a friend who has an issue with artificial light and is great with sunlight, and so we always want exactly opposite lighting conditions, but we still manage to make the friendship work. That's not a problem. But that's just one of those weird little things that I've been doing my best to work around and figure out, how it works, because being backwards, I don't tend to read about people with issues like mine. And that's my story. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like more similar content, then please subscribe. If you know someone who might find it interesting, please share. But most of all, if you have any questions, comments, any understanding of why I work this way, because I don't, then by all means, please comment. Thank you.